And so I wanted to sort of just look at what was going on with the Missouri economy and how bad things really are, historically speaking. You know, at the end of the last fiscal year, our revenues were down 6.9%. Through the end of October, they're down 10.8%. Unemployment is 9.3% in October, a little bit down from September, which is, I guess, slightly good news. We'll take what we can get at this point. But the 9.5 in September was the highest since 1985 or 1983. One of the economic forecasting firms that the Senate subscribes to, Economy.com, thinks that Missouri unemployment rate will be over 10% in the first half of next year. So things are not looking good. During the last recession, unemployment never hit 6%, just to give you a little historical perspective. You know, our personal income growth is just really poor. It's projected to grow 0.5% in this fiscal year and 1.7% the next fiscal year. You know, the 0.5% is the lowest in the last 20 years growth rate, if that's what happens, and we may be lucky to get that. You know, the wages and salaries, same kind of thing. Wages and salaries in Missouri are projected to decline 1.2% this year. The lowest it's ever been over the last 20 years is growth of 1.6. So you can see just really how bad this recession is. And then a couple other numbers, and then I'll move on. Retail sales are expected, actually did decline 8.2% in fiscal year 2009. Sales tax is about 25% of our revenue collection, so that's a huge issue. And then just to give you a little perspective on this compared to the last downturn we went through in the state budget, fiscal year 02 and 03, we had revenue declines of 2.8% and 4.2%. And in dollar figures, that was $179 million decline in FY02, and then it declined another $285 million in FY03 from that level. So over the 2 years, our revenues declined $463 million. In FY09, the fiscal year we just finished, our revenues were down 6.9%. Revenues declined $553 million in that one fiscal year, more than in the whole last downturn. And I think it's probably reasonable to think they're probably going to go down another $500 million this current fiscal year. So over that 2-year period, we're going to be $1 billion below what we actually collected in FY08. Our collections are probably going to be below what we collected in FY06 and maybe even below what we collected in FY05. So that just gives you a little idea of historically how bad things are and what we're looking at. The three of us here trying to put a budget together. It's going to be rough.
Since Dan's giving you the bad news, I thought I'd give the crowd the good news. And I say this to folks as I talk about the budget around the state. The good news is we're not Illinois. We're not Arizona. We're not a laundry list of states. And I tell folks, if I were the chairman of the House Budget Committee in Illinois or California, I honestly don't know how I would fix that budget. So we have some challenges, as Dan alluded to, but honestly the good news is the state of Missouri, relatively speaking to our 49 sister states, I'd rather be here than anywhere else, quite honestly.
I would say it is good that we're in Missouri and not in California. I will note that the budget director for the state of California just resigned. It's tough out there, it's not that tough here, but it is going to be a difficult couple of years. I think the main thing that we want to try to get people to understand is this is really not a short-term issue. We've got a couple of years of really rough roads ahead. We've managed to kind of get through with more of a transition here in Missouri because we're spending the federal money that was given to states, the stabilization money, more slowly than a lot of other states. We're trying to save some for the future. We're trying to transition down rather than hit that cliff. Some of the states, Illinois for example, basically have spent all of their federal stabilization money, has basically borrowed by postponing payments of bills multiple months into the future. So the things that other states have had to do is going to make it even more challenging for them as the federal money goes away and the economy probably will slowly pick up rather than very quickly pick up. In Missouri, we're trying to do it a little bit more gradually, phase things down more gradually, and hopefully be able to save some resources for fiscal year 11, the upcoming year, as well as the following year, fiscal year 12. So that's kind of a goal that we all have, is to try to transition this down over the next couple of years to save ourselves from doing anything really draconian. Really major cuts are much harder, and some states have had to make them. We're trying to avoid that and transition things down more slowly.